Recently took a trip to LA to visit my brother, and we spent the whole day at Little Tokyo. And we also went to Scent Bar in downtown LA, but for the most part we were in Little Tokyo, and we ate lots of good food, ate mochi from a place that's been around for like 100 years, went to bookstores. So I thought I would do something like a little bit different and do a Little Tokyo vlog, but I'm also going to be sharing some like Japanese literature and some of my favorite Japanese films, which I think you will appreciate. Japanese art, media, food, literature, film are one of my favorite genres ever to exist. So I'm really excited to be talking to you about this today. And honestly, LA's Little Tokyo is pretty fire. Like, they have a lot of really cool stuff. And we went to a lot of very cute, cozy, quaint shops and saw the most beautiful sunset of my entire life. So I'm really excited to kind of like share my little travels with you guys.
Pretty much single-handedly responsible for like
Japanese literature, and I'm kind of sad because I'm like curating this list that I want to talk to you about, and I'm like going through all my books and I'm trying to find a lot of the books that I'm about to talk about, and I can't find all of them. I've read about like 95% of the ones that I'm going to mention today, and I've only found like this. But because this list is pretty extensive, it's going to be a little bit more rapid fire. I'm not going to prolong each summary. I'm just going to give you like a couple sentences about like what each book is about, and then you can kind of pick and choose and see like which one you feel drawn to. I will say I made a whole Substack post highlighting Japanese literature, Japanese films, Japanese music, Japanese fragrance. So if you are looking for like the full rundown, the full list of everything, I'm just gonna give you the link in the description to my Substack and the specific post. So that way like you can reference it and you're not going to be wondering like where everything is. I feel like that's the most organized, succinct way that we can do this. So let's move into some Japanese literature. I'm starting out with my favorite Japanese literature book of all time, and that is Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. This is a quiet, melancholic novel about grief, found family, and the small comforts that tether us to life. At its core, it's about loneliness and survival and how we cope with loss, how we find warmth in unexpected places, and how a simple kitchen can become a sanctuary. The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. This is a delicate, deeply human story about memory, mathematics, and fleeting connections. A housekeeper is assigned to care for a brilliant mathematician who his memory resets every 80 minutes, and through numbers, patterns, and quiet gestures, an unspoken bond forms between them. This is a book about beauty and the ephemeral. Star by Yukio Mishima. This is a very sharp, self-aware novella about celebrity and vanity and the emphasis on fame. This is written by Mishima while he was acting in films himself, and it is fused with cynicism, and it really examines the mask of stardom and the loneliness beneath it. Another book by him, Spring Snow. This is the first book in The Sea of Fertility. It's like a series, and Spring Snow is a very tragic tale of doomed love set in the early 20th century Japan. It is a novel of obsession and fate and rigid social structures. It's hauntingly beautiful and deeply fantastic. Last Yukio Mishima is Confessions of a Mask. This is a semi-autobiographical novel that is about desire and repression and the performance of identity. The protagonist is a young man, and he grows up in wartime Japan, grapples with his attraction to men, and he really tries to hide it behind a carefully crafted persona. And I think that this is a fascinating study on self-denial and yearning. I am obsessed with this cover. If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genshi Kawamura. This is a whimsical and devastating novel about a man who makes a deal with the devil to extend his life at the cost of erasing one thing from the world each day. So as he weighs what truly matters, it becomes basically a meditation on love and loss and just this craving for all of the small things that we take for granted. No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. This is a raw existential novel about alienation and self-destruction. Through a series of notebooks, a deeply broken man recounts his life of deception and shame and addiction. He is convinced that he was never meant to be human. It is dark and cynical and painfully intimate. This was the first book I read in 2025. I don't know what that says about me, but the other Dazai novel that I recommend is The Setting Sun, and this is a novel about the decline of aristocratic Japan following a once wealthy family as they struggle to adapt to a rapidly changing world. It is a book about ruin, both personal and societal, very seeped in melancholic beauty and quiet desperation. I have another Dazai recommendation, and that is Schoolgirl. Love this cover too. This cover. This whole book is a single day in the mind of a teenage girl, written in a stream of consciousness style that really captures the restless, self-conscious energy of adolescence. It's basically about the contradictions of growing up, innocence and cynicism, joy and despair, longing and rebellion. This is a brilliant, very short, easy read. Territory of Light by Yuko Tsushima. This is a luminous, introspective novel about a woman navigating single motherhood in solitude inside of Tokyo. And each chapter unfolds like a quiet revelation. It is filled with light and shadow. It captures the shifting emotions of loss, resilience, and self-reinvention. The other book that I really love, if you want a comforting book, you should read Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sekigawa. And this is a gentle, bittersweet story about loneliness and human connection. A struggling man hires an elderly woman to help him make sweet bean paste, and this is only to learn that she carries a painful secret. So this book really covers kindness, acceptance, and the weight of the past. I also want to recommend another comforting book. This is called She and Her Cat. One thing about Japanese films, literature, is there are so many books about cats, which I really love. But this is literally just about women and their cats and their quest for love and connection. Very cozy, very comforting, very short, very easy to read. Kiki's Delivery Service. So you may have seen the Ghibli film. This is my favorite Ghibli film of all time. This is a charming coming-of-age story about a young witch learning to navigate independence, responsibility, and self-doubt. If you love the Ghibli film, the book offers even more insight into Kiki's world. Highly recommend. Another very cozy, comforting read. Convenience Store Woman by Sakaya Murata. This is a darkly funny and unsettling novel about a woman who has worked in the same convenience store for 18 years and has no desire to change. It's really a critique of societal expectation, and it explores like what it means to live authentically, whether you live in a world that understands you or not. I think it really hits home on how people like find comfort in the quiet and the mundanity of life that is often judged by society. So this is very comforting, especially if you're feeling lost in life, or if you feel like you're okay with being exactly where you are. This is the perfect book for you. I only have 2 Murakami recommendations because I kind of detest him. The first one is After Dark. This is a surreal nocturnal novel that follows a series of interconnected strangers as they navigate Tokyo's neon-lit underbelly. It is mysterious, dreamlike, and tinged with loneliness. It kind of feels like you're slipping into another dimension for a night, which is kind of a vibe. And the other one that I recommend by him is Kafka on the Shore because it's weird and it's about cats. And I think that it does mysticism in a way that is very well done. This is basically a novel about fate, memory, and parallel realities. A runaway boy, a man who can talk to cats, essentially, a mysterious library, and like a metaphysical journey that blurs the lines between dreams and waking life. And I think this is Murakami at his most mythic and strange, which I appreciate as a reader. The Lake by Banana Yoshimoto. I love Banana Yoshimoto. If I were to recommend any book in this stack, Banana Yoshimoto. This one is a quiet, melancholic novel about trauma, healing, and the way that love can be both a refuge and a mystery. The story follows a woman who is drawn to an enigmatic artist with a very painful past, and their connection unfolds with a soft, eerie beauty. Mieko Kawakami is another incredible Japanese author, especially if you love literary fiction. So one of the books by her that I want to recommend to you is called Heaven, and this is a novel about 2 middle school outcasts who form a very fragile bond in the face of relentless bullying. Kawakami does not flinch from the cruelty of adolescence, but she also finds moments of tenderness, questioning whether suffering can ever be shared or understood. So that one's great. The other book that I really loved was Breasts and Eggs, and this is a bold, unfiltering novel about womanhood, class, and bodily autonomy. It follows 3 women at different stages of life. It explores the pressures of beauty and motherhood and self-definition in a world that is just constantly demanding women to be something else, to be more than what they are, and to accommodate and bend to societal standards and, dare I say, the male gaze. Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami. This is a quiet, tender novel about an unlikely romance between a lonely woman and her former high school teacher. It's subtle and atmospheric and tinged with nostalgia. It's really about companionship, aging, and the quiet intimacy of shared meals and an unspoken understanding. Under the Eye of the Big Bird by Hiromi Kawakami. I don't have this book yet. It was on the Booker Prize list winners, and I want to read it. I'm cramming it into my March TBR. This is a surreal, fragmented meditation on memory and love and the strangeness of everyday life. I think Kawakami's work has always had this very dreamy, slightly off-kilter quality, and this one feels like slipping in and out of reality, which is perfect. Last very comforting book that I'm going to recommend is The Days at the Morisaki Bookshop, and this is really about a young woman who loses everything and finds herself like basically a tale of new beginnings and romantic and family relationships and the comfort that can be found in books and in a bookstore, which feels very apropos for me and my channel and everything that I'm talking about today. Just comfort literature, and why we love reading, why we love books. Something that I've been thinking about a lot recently is translated literature, and specifically Japanese translated literature. And I was like going through my Goodreads just to kind of see like what I've logged pertaining to Japanese literature, and I noticed that like so many books in this genre have not gotten high ratings, and I never really understood why. Because when I read them, I'm like, this is so good. Why is it only getting like 3.5 stars, 3.8 stars? Like, this is like a 4.5 at least, in my opinion. And I was talking to my friend, one of my really good friends, she's actually Korean, and we were talking about translated literature and just the barrier of language. And I was kind of thinking about how that relates to this type of work, and how there is something in translated literature that will never be understood by someone who doesn't speak the native language. And I think that that disconnect that a reader feels when reading it is maybe inhibiting them from like truly being able to understand what the book is trying to say and what the author is trying to express to the reader. And this very thing is actually one of the things that I love most about translated literature, is that I know that there's a barrier. I know that there's something between the author and I that I will never fully grasp, because as we know, in different languages, there are words and expressions and emotions that we possibly cannot understand in our native language. But it makes me work for it as a reader. It makes me want to investigate and research and like do the work, which I think a lot of people are not willing to do. So all this to say, I challenge you that if you are feeling a disconnect in books that you're reading, any translated literature books, I recommend that you like take a step further and analyze what the author's trying to say, do some research, like talk to people who speak the language, maybe like a friend, or I don't know. I think that it's what makes it so special and sacred in a way. I'm yapping. I'm going to stop. But those are my thoughts. I hope that there is something in this stack that you find that you love. Japanese literature is so comforting, and I think that you can really learn a lot from it. I'm also about 99% sure that the second I stop recording this video, I'm going to find the other stack of Japanese lit that I have somewhere hidden in there, and it's going to make me want to redo the whole thing over again. I won't start everything over and refilm the whole thing, but I will share some book covers if I find this other stack of mine somewhere back there. Okay. As we're getting closer to spring, I've been kind of like cleaning out my closet and bringing out lighter colors, which I never wear. Like, this is probably the only time of year when I wear light colors, because even during spring and summer, I'm still wearing black. Like, my nails stay dark 365 days out of the year, unless there's like a one-off occasion where I'm feeling spontaneous. And if I do feel spontaneous, I usually get like a very milky, like jelly like nail that looks clear. And I forgot how much I loved this sweater. Like, it is so comforting, and I get scared like when I wear light colors, because I have like really pale skin, and I never want to feel like I'm being washed out. But now I don't care. This is like, I feel like this is a very mushroom color, and I like it. It's very cozy. I could sleep in this. Anyways, so when it comes to like traveling, I really hate it because flying is my biggest fear. Like, I hate flying. I hate the airplane. Like, any transportation where I'm not in control absolutely terrifies me. So there's always like anxiety with travel that I don't like, which is sad because like there are so many places that I want to visit. There are so many countries that I've never been able to go to. There are lots of things that I feel like I've missed out on just from my anxiety and my inability to like get over it. And I know that there's medication. I know that there's things I can do, and I'm a lot better than I was years ago, but it's still sad just thinking and reflecting back on the amount of things that I've missed out on because of it. So I really try to appreciate the times when I am brave enough to take the plunge and go on a plane and travel. And when I do travel, I really try to focus on visiting like quaint, quieter local spots where I feel like I can support the community, where I feel like I can show love to places that maybe aren't getting hyped up on social media, or even within the community of its in and of itself. So the way that I do that is through food and through small shops, like stationery shops, trinket shops. Like, I went to a lot of record stores in Little Tokyo, where like my brother and I got records and just little trinkets to remember the trip. Him and I love Japanese city pop. I have a playlist on Spotify, and surprisingly, I think I only shared it one time, and it is my most liked, most played playlist that I've made. That one, so it's tied between Japanese city pop, a jazz. I have like multiple jazz playlists, but one of them, I think it's either like the vintage one or the dinner party one, and then also bossa nova. That's like my holy trifecta right there. So we bought a lot of like Japanese city pop records, and we went to a lot of really good restaurants as well. I do love Japanese films as well, so I want to mention a few here, but I don't want to go in detail. Like, like I said, I have my Substack. All of the films and their descriptions and everything are listed below, but I want to talk about a few of my favorites. So one of them is House. It's from 1977, and it's a very like surreal, campy horror film about a group of schoolgirls who visit this haunted house. And it begins to like consume them one by one, but it's very bizarre and dreamlike, and the cinematography is just brilliant. I also really love Perfect Blue from 1977, and this is a psychological thriller about a pop icon, and she's turned into an actress, and basically her reality begins to like completely unravel, and she's stalked by like a very deranged fan. So this movie's like really messed up. It's very dark and eerie and unsettling. Along the same genre pipeline, I really loved Serial Experiments Lane from 1998. This is like a cyberpunk psychological horror as well, and it blurs the lines between like reality and the digital world, and it feels very meta watching it today. Kind of freaks me out when I rewatch it, but it's like a quiet introverted girl who becomes entangled in a vast eerie conspiracy involving the internet. And there's also Neon Genesis Evangelion from 1995, and I cannot say enough good things about this series. Oh my god, if you like philosophy, you will love this. It is philosophically dense and emotionally devastating, but it's incredible. I can't even explain it in this video. Like, this needs a full video explanation of what this series is about, but go check it out, watch the trailer. It is an anime, and I'm not like an anime person, but I highly recommend that one. I also really loved Little Forest. And this is from 2014, but it's basically like a love letter to rural life in Japan, which is ultimate comfort, in my opinion. It's about like a woman who retreats to the countryside and just lives harmoniously with nature and cooking. I don't know what could be more comforting than that. And I'm not going to end this video without talking about Ghibli, because I don't care how popular Ghibli gets. His movies bring me so much comfort. Like, Miyazaki is one of the most brilliant animators to ever exist, period. In any genre, in any animated genre span, period. My favorite is Kiki's Delivery Service. Don't ask me why. It is so comforting. It's about a witch. Come on. Like, I vividly remember as a young girl watching that movie repeatedly. And so my full name is Caitlin, but when I was little, my parents called me Kiki after the little witch. So it feels very nostalgic in that way. I also love Totoro. May is actually like my favorite character from Totoro. I think she's adorable and cute, and like I just love her. I wish that I could act like her more often, because I'm kind of like the opposite of her. Obviously, Spirited Away is absolutely genius. I watched that this year actually on New Year's Eve. Well, I guess that's last year. Yeah, love Spirited Away. I love Ponyo. In the summer, Ponyo is so cute. I love watching that, especially like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, that scene where they're eating ramen together. Like, that's my favorite scene in the whole film. I love Ocean Waves during the summer as well. That's kind of an underrated Ghibli. And then Whisper of the Heart. Although, I kind of have a hot take, because when they sing Country Road, Take Me Home, it gives me really bad anxiety. Other than that, that would have come up as like a top contender. But there's something about that song that makes me a little bit anxious. Yeah, those are some of my favorites. I have a lot more on my post, so check that out if you're curious. But I don't know, I've always found so much comfort in Ghibli, and especially if I'm feeling sad, or if I just want to feel comforted, or like even if I need background noise, like if I'm studying or if I'm reading and I don't want it to be so quiet in the house, like Kiki or Totoro is usually like what I gravitate toward.
What else did we get?
We got the oyster.
Oh, the thigh.
And that comes with two, I think.
The last thing that I want to highlight in this YouTube video are some Japanese fragrances, and not necessarily from Japanese brands and houses explicitly, but also fragrances that just really emulate and highlight some of the scents and feelings and memories and emotions that evoke Chinese culture, Chinese literature, Chinese films, and all of that stuff. So I have a bit of a lineup here. Some of these I don't own full-size bottles of, but I do have samples, and they are high on my wish list to purchase full-size bottles this year, even though I am on a fragrance buying ban that literally ended in January. So I have some samples like in this little cup, and then I also have a couple of bottles that I want to talk to you guys about today. The first one is from a brand called J-Scent, and the one I want to talk to you about is called Roasted Green Tea. And this is a like warm, toasty scent that really feels like you're sitting in a quiet tea house. There's rain pattering outside, there's steam rising from freshly brewed tea, and there's these nutty peanut and cocoa notes that like bring this unexpected richness. There's also some mint and jasmine that really lift the composition before it settles into the most beautiful iris and cedar. It's really earthy, it's grounding, and it's just deeply meditative. It's stunning. And the notes in this specifically are Japanese green tea, peanut, coconut, mint, jasmine, vanilla, iris, cedar, and clover. The next J scent that I want to highlight is called Soft Skin. And this scent is of warmth and intimacy, like sun-kissed skin against fresh, clean linen. There's pear and milk that bring a very soft sweetness, and it's balanced out by rice and green notes. And there's a jasmine and a rose that bloom so gently before it melts into a creamy sandalwood and an amber. And this is both nostalgic and effortless and quietly tender in the way that it evokes the scent. The notes in this are pear, milk, green notes, rice, jasmine, rose, sandalwood, amber, and hinoki. The next one is from a Japanese perfume house, and it is called Kitawa, and the scent is hinoki. And this one is like walking through a misty hinoki forest where cypress and cedar fill the air with a very dry, sacred scent. There's this sharp clarity of hinoki that is softened by iris and sandalwood, and it almost evokes this like temple incense that is lingering against like cool mountaintops or cool mountain air. And it is so serene and meditative and timeless. The notes in this are cypress, white paper, hinoki wood, geranium, iris, cedar, sandalwood. This is stunning. I love hinoki. It's very comforting and calming. The other one from Kitawa is called Kusunoki, and this is a bright citrus scent. It's very cool and cooling the way that it projects. The opening scent is like a crisp morning air before deepening into this warm, resinous heart. And there's a musk and a balsam fir note that create a very weightless softness, like almost like when light filters through trees in a forest. And there's a slight vanilla note, and this adds just a touch of warmth to the dry, woody base of this fragrance. So some of the notes in this are bergamot, orange, grapefruit, cashmere wood, lily of the valley, musk, vanilla, and balsam fir. Le Labo's Gaiac 10 is their Tokyo City exclusive, and this is a minimalist yet enveloping scent. This scent feels like Tokyo in the rain, and Gaiac wood and musk create this very quiet warmth, while cedar, the woody notes in this add a very smoky and meditative depth to the way that this projects. It's very clean, it's very comforting, and it is perfectly restrained. I feel like it lingers, almost like when you see in these films, like these Japanese films, where the last train is pulling away into the night, similar to like how it does in Totoro with the cat bus. But the notes in this are musk, Gaiac wood, cedar, olibanum, and I think that's it. But there's such a layer of complexity to this that I really love, and it's addictive, and it layers well with vanilla scents is kind of what I found. And back to my teacup. The next one that I want to talk to you about is Unspoken Gesture by Joram Studio. This is very high on my fragrance wish list, and this is a soft and skin-like fragrance. This scent is a whispered memory. There is almond and barrette that create a delicate warmth, while fig, cardamom, and hazelnut add this very quiet richness to the scent. There's sandalwood and violet leaf that kind of trail behind you as you wear this, like something that is left unsaid but never forgotten. The notes in this are almond and barrette seed, cardamom, cedarwood, fig, hay, sandalwood, musk, rice, hazelnut, malt, violet leaf, and ylang ylang. That's a lot of notes, but it is such a beautiful rice scent. If you love rice fragrances, you should definitely check this one out. Next, we have Jasmine by One Day, jasmine tea, technically. And this is a Tea Ceremony in the Afternoon. This is jasmine petals floating on oolong. This is the quiet clarity of sage and the soft bitterness of steeped tea leaves. Musk and vetiver really settle into this, and it creates a scent that is so weightless and deeply grounding, like a pause between moments. The notes in this are jasmine, sage, tea, oolong tea, musk, and vetiver. Last and certainly not least is White Rice by Danam. This is pure comfort. This is steamed rice and orris that create a soft, pillowy warmth, like the scent of skin against cotton. And the jasmine in this adds a quiet, floral breath almost, while there's musk and tonka and cedar wood that ground the fragrance into something that is so familiar but deeply nostalgic. The notes in this are rice, orris, jasmine, musk, tonka bean, and cedar wood. And that's it for this week's video. And it's a little bit different because it was like a mini travel vlog, or a very like haphazard one. But I did get to talk about all the things that I enjoy talking about, which is literature and fragrance and sometimes food. So yeah, I think next week I'm going to be highlighting some fragrances that I love for sleep and for comfort. And I'm also going to be speaking about books that kind of emulate that comfort while still maintaining the level of literature that I like within the classics and philosophy genres. I'm also, going to be sharing some of my favorite stuffed animals. So there's that to look forward to. And then I think the week after I'm going to be doing like a very spring video to celebrate and highlight the spring equinox. So I do want to provide you with some books that I think are perfect for spring, as well as fragrances, especially for spring, and a few other goodies. I haven't decided yet, but I think that's kind of like on the agenda for the next couple weeks. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if there's anything that you want me to talk about, if there are any books or genres of books that you want me to highlight, or fragrances that you're curious about, or if you're looking for like a particular fragrance, I'm writing a Substack soon about forest fairy fragrances, because I feel like that's kind of niche, but I think you get it. I don't know, stuff like that. Just, I'm always open to suggestions. I love being able to create the things that I love, but also kind of get an understanding of what you're really enjoying and what you love, or like what you want more of or less of. So I'll see you next week.